What's going on, everybody? Welcome in here on another episode of Bish and Brown right here on the Detroit Lions podcast. He's Scott Bischoff. I'm Russ Brown. We're back. Biting our tongues on a Tuesday night after New Year's Eve.
Salty.
Yeah, we're salty, man. But Scott, how the hell are you?
I'm doing well. We're going to do our best to ignore, for the most part, the big topic that everybody's talking about, because by the time you guys see this, I don't think anybody's going to want to be talking about it anymore, but we are going to hit on it. How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm good. Fresh out the shower here, ready to do this show. Just got the workout in, so feeling good. But yeah, I mean, I'm still salty. And if you don't know what we're talking about, maybe you were on vacation with the holiday, maybe you didn't see it, maybe you were living under a rock. I don't know. But Lions losing to the Cowboys 20-19 in Dallas, and we all hate Brad Allen. I mean, this guy is I don't know. I mean, every game he's ever reffed for the Lions, they're 0-6 in. There's a lot to it. It's not his full-time job. He's a CEO of a nonprofit. It's just weird. It's weird that you go to Dallas, and for as mediocre as Dallas played and as for up and down as Detroit played, and really I don't even think it was more so the play. I think it was the play calling in the red zone for Detroit in this game. But to have them on the ropes the way that they did, and then have the game in their hands at 21-20, and then for the game to be kind of taken away from them because of an ineligible receiver in Taylor Decker, because he quote unquote did not report, Dan Skipper did. It's mind-boggling, and it's the talk of the town, because it's going to be a new rule in the NFL that gets changed because of our team. And it's frustrating. It's just frustrating. Yeah, I mean, that's a very gentle way to put it. It is should I go the uncensored version? I mean, it impacts not just the Lions, but it impacts other teams, significant playoff seeding. There's a lot of things at play there. And, the whole NFL ref conversation is something, we all could go back and forth on forever. But the idea that they can't manage to bring a group of people in as employees and, monitor their status as employees, and that they just kind of force this is good enough. Mm-hmm. And to me, it's like, it's not. Think about your Campbell and Company, and you put together this play that you work on the entire, however long they've been working on this play, and it works, and you do everything you're supposed to do, and it's still not good enough. Like, that'd be hard. That'd be a tough pill to swallow. Like, we did everything we were supposed to do, and we beat this team on the road. And oh, by the way, if I know this is a little bit aside from things, but the idea, if anybody watched last week, I didn't have a lot of faith that the Lions were going to win this game. The Lions did not play well Sunday. Some of that's because they were on the road in Dallas, and Dallas was scoring 40 points a game. I don't think they'd lost in 2 years at home in that range. Yeah, tough place to play, and you beat them. I know they lost technically, but I'm taking some comfort in the idea that they beat this team while not playing overly well, and making a lot of mistakes of their own, and feeling relatively comfortable. Like, yeah, it sucks to have to go back there in the second round. And I'm not overlooking round one of the playoffs either, because that's going to be a tough matchup no matter who it is, and we'll get into that. Yeah. But the idea that the Lions could play the way they did on Sunday and beat Dallas for all intents and purposes, yes, it got taken away, but I don't think that we should be, as fans,
thinking that traveling to and I know I was on the opposite side of this a week ago, but it was just like, okay, it's different than I think. It gave me a little bit of, okay, they'll be okay even if they do have to travel. They can beat this team. They can beat Dallas.
Yeah,
and so that was it was a good thing to recognize and to see them play the way they did and effectively win that game. But how far in the weeds do you want to go on this rule and all this bullshit, or do you just want to generalize it and move on?
I mean, personally, we can go however. You know me, I'm never a script guy. I like to just come in and have organic and genuine conversation. That's just how I do every show, whether it's radio or this or whatever. But when I look at it, just from the rule standpoint, like I was telling you pre-show, I just don't understand like where the disconnect is, other than the fact that Brad Allen made a mistake. And I understand referees make mistakes. Completely understand. Hey, you missed the holding call, or you called holding or pass interference, and it wasn't that. Completely understand. I'm not perfect at my day job. You're not perfect at your day job. We're not perfect at our day job. But, you do a consistent job for the most part, but we're also not in like these critical time crunching decisions that have hundreds of millions of eyes watching on our product on a daily basis, on a weekly basis. And you mentioned it, the fact that these guys are not full-time employees is still kind of mind-boggling. And like when you do the math, there's 7 officials in college football, 7 officials in an NFL game. There's 5 in the high school level. Take it the NFL, for example, 7 officials in a game. It's not like you need 7 officials for every team. You need 16 games per week, 7 officials, the same officials, rotate it, however you got to do it. Give them all a base salary. Give the veteran guys a little bump. In total, you probably need $15 to $20 million. And I know that's not, chump change for anybody in this world, but it's the NFL. It's a multi-billion-dollar business. They have the money to pay these guys $100,000 salaries, benefits, the works.
It's hysterical, the idea that they think they don't.
Right. And it's like this. It's this notion of like, oh, I can't bring this guy in full time. You could bring guys in that work in the college ranks, like a minor league system, and work their way up into the NFL. And like, you could create a whole system, and they don't. And we talk about Brad Allen. He's a CEO of a nonprofit, not his full-time gig. Sure, he makes a mistake, but it wasn't like it was a time down. It was an untimed down on a 2-point conversion.
Yeah, and the problem, it's a mistake, yeah. And I really do think he got confused. Mm-hmm. With who was reporting and who wasn't, and got confused post-snap because he couldn't really figure out what happened.
Yeah.
But it's more that we are now 2-3 days after, and they're still dug in on this stance that the Lions did the deception concept of stop.
Right.
And the idea that it was the Lions, it's up to the Lions to make sure the officials make their call correctly. And Dan Campbell didn't have a timeout.
Right.
So when you hear him say number 70 reported as eligible, what are you going to do if you're the Lions?
Yeah.
You going to run on the field?
And if he's down on the sideline, as far down as he can go, because, I mean, we've seen guys like Sean McVay and Bill Belichick, and the list goes on. Every NFL head coach is damn near on the goal line calling timeouts.
Yeah.
If he was all the way down there and they ignored him, I mean, what the hell is the guy supposed to do? You know what I mean? But
there's literally nothing the Lions could do there. Nothing.
Right. Furthermore, you watch the video, and it's like, I was saying this to my dad, and he watches the show, so shout out to my dad, but
I did.
I did. But like you look at this video, this up angle sky view of the call or whatever, you see Penei Sewell and Taylor Decker moments before Jared Goff got told by Taylor Decker to go talk to Brad Allen and report yourself as eligible. Dan Skipper's running onto the field. And it's just like, I watch film as a Joe Schmo. These guys are NFL refs making decent money calling these games, deciding teams' fates. You would think that they would know throughout the course of time. And Brad Allen's been around. It's not like he hasn't just shown up. Like, it's not his first day on the job. He's been doing this for a long time. You have had, and I said this in the pre-show, Taylor Decker, has caught a touchdown pass during his Lion career. How can he only do that as tackle over or tackle eligible?
Yeah.
Dan Skipper's been running it constantly this year. I've shown clips of it on my X or Twitter page. We've talked about it on this show, him being a fullback for one. Penei Sewell, his first year in the league, caught a pass for the Lions. It's not like it's the first time that the Lions have done something like this. But then furthermore, the fact that Dan Campbell comes out and says, we meet before the game. I draw the plays out for him. I didn't even know that was a thing. The fact that that's a thing is mind-boggling to me. Because to me, it's like, okay, if Detroit meets with the ref first and goes, hey, this is my trick play, and then that guy goes to Dallas and says, hey, here's their trick play. I mean, what's the communication like after that? Because to me, I don't think that's fair. Like, football is a game of chess, and it loses its element if that's the way we're going to play football. And that's what's, I think, messing with my mind, because I love the chess game that it is. That's what I love.
And the argument about deception and stuff, it's like, okay, every offensive play you run is about deception.
Yeah.
Right? You disguise your coverages because you're trying to deceive the offense and mess with the court. But that whole argument is, to me, it's just like, this is the NFL doing stupid things, like really dumb things. I don't think they should be messing with this particular play anymore.
No.
You know what I mean? Like, and there was just a video they put out over the last hour or so, which is going to really, really piss off Lions fans, because it uses a couple of clips from this game as reasons, like, this is the mistakes that were made, and these are the things that you have to do. And it's like, yeah, but that doesn't fix the problem. If Taylor Decker goes over to Brad Allen and says, I am reporting eligible, and Brad Allen confuses him for Dan Skipper and then enforces that, right? There's nothing the Lions can do about it.
Yeah.
And by all accounts, that's exactly what happened. I do think that Brad Allen got confused as to where Dan Skipper did line up in that particular play, because he lined up as the right tackle, and Sewell lined up as effectively a tight end. And then I want to say Laporta lined up outside Sewell as a second tight end, I think. I could be wrong about that. But I think Glasgow was in his normal spot. Ragnow was in his normal spot. And Jonah Jackson and Decker were where they were. And effectively, Taylor Decker was a tight end. Doesn't really matter where the ball is snapped, because he was uncovered. And I just, there's no way. And I guess this is where I'm a little stuck with some of this stuff, is the NFL keeps using the Dan Skipper lined up in an ineligible spot after he told me he was eligible. And it's like, okay, he didn't. And if that's the only thing, I'm trusting what the Lions have said. So we can't say nothing else matters because Dan Skipper was ineligible. And I'm sorry, because Dan Skipper lined up in an ineligible place after declaring himself to be eligible. So that's an illegal formation penalty. Okay, if that's the case, then the flag has to come out the minute the ball is snapped, and it didn't. Right? So I'm not buying that whole argument. And then it's like the whole thing falls apart, and I don't think they should be continuing to kind of rub Lions fans' nose in it, just because it's not going to go well for them.
Yeah.
This is a losing thing for the NFL. They need to apologize and figure out a way to fix it going forward. But it's a huge thing. I mean, the Lions lose the status of being a 2 seed. And man, I said we weren't going to talk a lot about this, but we're really talking a lot about this. It sucks. We obviously have to move on from it, and the Lions are going to do that. Maybe there's a chip on their shoulder kind of thing. Maybe, I mean, things have happened in the past in sports where in the moment you think it sucks, but it turns out to be a blessing, right? So, I like the idea of not having to go outdoors, in wet and cold, windy stuff.
At all. More than likely.
Yes. I mean, so the positive there is that, obviously, again, you have to handle your business in the first round of the playoffs, but then you have to go to Dallas, and we saw what they did there. And, the nice scenario is you handle your business and you can beat any of these teams. And I think that's where we all have to kind of get comfortable with this, and that, myself included. The idea that the Lions should be a feared team in the playoffs, it's very real.
Yeah.
I don't think Dallas would be comfortable with the Lions coming back into town. I really don't.
No, they're going to have to call extra security for that game.
It's going to be crazy. And then, in a great situation, you travel to San Francisco, and that's not a bad place for Jared Goff to have to play. Yep. It's just not. So, let's get into what did you think the Lions look like on offense and defense in that matchup?
Yeah, and that's what I was going to get to as well. It's, I thought we looked very similar to the Cowboys, other than the fact that they have CeeDee Lamb and we don't. We didn't have an answer for CeeDee Lamb, and outside of CeeDee Lamb, they don't have much. Like offensively, they struggled at times. They couldn't get their ground game going, and defensively, it was the best our defense had looked maybe all season. I mean, since at least early on in the season, and
agreed.
And we're going to talk about it in the play of the week powered by Restore here in a little bit, but like just looking at it, it's like I thought offensively we got a little lackluster play calling down in the red zone, and I don't know if it's if it's just faster defenses give Brad Johnson a hard time, or these big moments give him a hard time, but I don't know. There were times where like we would go away from running the football and start trying to air it out down in the red zone, and then times where we would get away from airing it out when we were beating them and gashing them through the air, and then 2 consecutive run plays that got nowhere. It was a rough day for Laporta as far as blocking goes.
Yeah.
Missed a lot of those like split zone blocks.
Those are hard though, and it's like that was one of the things that stood out to me, is they were in a variety of ways. They were asking, like they were the idea of leaving DeMarcus Lawrence unblocked and asking somebody to come across the formation, just pick him up. Sorry, no, that's really not an easy block to make. But I thought they got cute in their running game. Like there were moments in the running game when they just blew the Cowboys off the ball and were effective doing it. And then they kind of did some of that. Let's bring a tight end across the formation and ask him to pick up one of these guys. That's a problem. That's a tough assignment. So I'm with you. I think Ben Johnson did not have great. He didn't have a great calling plays. Yeah. He's it's been a rough little while for him. But I like the fact that they aired it. That was a nice throw from Goff to JMO. That was a nice. It's an incredible throw for him taking that pressure and getting smoked like that and making that throw. And they made plays when they needed to. The drive to essentially kind of win the game was pretty awesome.
It was a great drive.
It was. And Gibbs looked really good at times. Yep. They looked really good when they just wanted to go straight forward running the ball, just go. So. But I'm with you on the defense. The defense looked really, really good. There were moments where they looked like Dallas had no answers for them. Mm-hmm. And if you take away the let's get into the long. Did I say Debo a second ago?
No, you said okay. I knew where you're going. The 92-yard touchdown pass.
Yes. So Derek Barnes, that play, it's a weird play. It should be a safety. It's a 9-point swing. I know CeeDee Lamb had a great day, but if you take away that play, he tore him apart a little bit, but not so much like you think that he was completely unstoppable.
Not like the stat sheet says. I get right.
Yeah. So, but the Barnes thing, it's really weird there. Like it's like, and he made a mistake or whatever it is, but that should have been a safety. He's a really good tackler. I don't know. He's a very physical player. He's a very good tackler. And it just seemed in that moment, like, dude, you got a right arm there, buddy. You know what I mean? Like,
but didn't it feel like he almost froze up, like he was afraid to get penalized or something? Like it kind of felt that way after I watched the play over. Like,
yes,
because he has never shown like the tendency or that type of tackling where he like gets in there and then like, whoa, like freezes up and kind of backs off. Like, it was just odd. And I think he was thinking in his head, like, oh, I'm going to get penalized if I hit Dak too hard. And I think
or maybe I thought it was possible that he thought Dak didn't have the ball. Like he almost kind of, you know, like he got there, and if he just uses his right arm to wrap him up, it's a sack. And it was almost like he just didn't want to touch him. It was really weird. You know?
Yeah, no, that's a good way of putting it. I didn't think about it like that. And I don't know. That one was a head scratcher because it was like, how does Lamb get this far open? How can nobody? Where is our defensive back help? And I understand why if we didn't have the personnel out there. I mean, look, they were on their own 8. I wouldn't have had a dime package out there either. So like you just kind of run with the tendencies of what football's all about. But I'm hoping that with the additions of Aleem McNeil coming back as they waive Isaiah Buggs today and Chauncey Gardner-Johnson for the playoffs, these guys will be back, and that will limit some of this stuff where, you know, we see a 92-yard catch. Not saying that Aleem McNeil is going to drop in coverage, but you get my point. You know,
I think for sure. And you and I, like, you know, just as coaches, right? We would say 10 times out of 10, we would take that exact scenario and we would take it. Yeah, CD single covered, but you've got a free runner at the quarterback. Yeah, you just take that and you expect your guys to make plays. Again, let's just take the positive out of that and say, you know, that's not happening again. That kind of thing isn't going to happen again. You know, so it's just another positive in the Lions column there where you think, okay, it's a huge play. It's a 90+ yard touchdown. It's a 9-point swing. You know, I don't know. I thought there was a lot to be hopeful about in that. Obviously in that loss, but you know, it was a weird game. It really was. Goff did not play good. He had moments where he looked really rough. Yeah. You said it. I mean, Laporta was kind of quiet for the first 3 quarters, and then he kind of exploded in the fourth quarter. Yep. Amon-Ra does his thing. I think J-Mo was targeted 3 times in that game. I know I'm 100% certain they did that because they didn't want Goff facing the kind of pressure that they thought he would see if he held on the ball for a long time. But what'd you think about the Lions offensive line? I don't think they had a very good day.
No, I mean, I haven't watched the All-22 yet. It felt like at certain moments they had some really good blocking. Down in the red zone, there were times that they'd have a great play executed, but there was just times where there was pressure and that speed and the heavy blitzes. It got to Goff at times, and I know he only got sacked 1 time in this game, but the 2 picks, both of them just kind of weird. The one was a wide receiver screen, and it was like perfectly timed. And he
did it again, didn't he? He predetermined where he was going with the ball.
Yeah, and that's what it was. And we talked about this several weeks ago. Like, he is predetermining his read before letting it develop. Like the backside screen that he had to give for a loss of 6 a couple weeks ago in Chicago, he had St. Brown wide open, and he had all day to set and drive the throw, and he doesn't. Yeah. So he's got to get away from that and trust his athletic ability that is limited, no doubt, but trust his knowledge and athleticism to make plays off script and extend plays beyond the pocket. And he can do it every now and again. And when he does, those big plays are going to happen. So I think he's close to kind of turning it back on. I think the offensive line is just banged up. I think that, if I were them, I'd be going to Dalvin Cook today. He got released today. Here's $4 million. You're running every single play on Sunday against your former team. Like, I'm not starting anybody against the Vikings as we get ready for a Vikings proof.
I hear you. Craig Reynolds could be in store for a huge game.
Yeah.
So the Goff experience was interesting. Like the 4th down play that he missed Laporta on. That is a really good example of the frustration of Goff's game. So he drifts off of his spot to the left where all the pressure is, and he brings all that kind of pressure onto himself, and then he's got to make this kind of sidearm perfect throw to Laporta, who's not quite open yet.
Mm-hmm.
And if instead of drifting left, if Goff just steps forward just, a yard, just steps up, climbs the pocket a little, and gives Laporta a little time to run, it's an easy throw. It's an easy touchdown. Right. But he kind of puts himself into a dangerous place by drifting into pressure, and then he's going to make a perfect throw. And it's like, that is a little bit frustrating. From just, that's the Goff kind of experience and the picks and some of that stuff. But he drives them down the field, with no time left on the clock, really.
Yeah.
And wins the game. Frustrating loss. Shouldn't have been a loss. Lions did not play a great game, but they're good enough and talented enough, and they're playing well enough, I guess, to be able to go on the road and beat a team like Dallas. It's impressive. And it just requires I think it just requires a kind of a different headspace than any of us are capable of right now.
Right.
And
I will say credit to him. I'm not saying we're bashing him. We're not.
No.
But credit to him on that last drive, because he threw a pick in the previous drive with just over 2 minutes to go, and then he drives 75 yards in just over a minute.
Yeah.
To tie, essentially tie the game up. I will say, I was a little surprised, and I don't want to rip Dan Campbell because he's been going through it, through the national media and stuff and the local media, but I never would have guessed that when they moved him back the 5 yards after the 2-point conversion, I thought for sure he was kicking it. And the fact that he went for it again, I go, this guy's a nut job. Like, what are we doing? Like,
I get it. I don't think it's hard. The only thing that I would say about that thing is I think they wanted the game to be over. And taking it to overtime, I think they felt was likely a losing proposition. It's like, okay, we lose the coin toss, and if we lose the coin toss, we lose the game, right? So let's just go for it here. And it sounds like he made some, and this is what I think, this is where I think players love playing for him. He told the offense, we're driving down the field, we're going for 2, and we're winning the game. And he lived up to those words. Now, would he have gone for 2 if they moved it back to the 15? No. Or whatever. But still, it was from the 7. I think Goff threw a pick on that play too, but they were offsides.
Yep.
Do I have that right?
Yep.
And then the pass to Mitchell, that was not a good throw.
No.
So
he rushed it. Yep.
Yeah, he did. But, I think that from this point, it's just, everything that's in the rearview mirror is in the rearview mirror. And we have a week 18 matchup that we're going to get into after we do our plays of the week. It's going to be a weird one because I think they're going to sit players that, they're going to sit some guys for, I don't know how much Goff is going to play. I don't know how much the running backs are going to play or any of these guys. So it's going to be a strange week, but we'll get into that after we get into our plays of the week. What's yours? Well, let's take it. Go.
Yeah. Yeah. As he's alluding to, I got to tell you guys about Restore Hyper Wellness. Maybe you're an athlete, you have kids that are athletes, or you're just trying to get back in the gym, such as myself, and maybe you're just not recovering the way that you used to. Well, I've got a solution for you. You just got to go check out Restore Hyper Wellness here in Northville or Birmingham, Michigan. My son and I, we both go. My wife goes. We all love it. He's a 3-sport athlete. I'm in the gym 3 to 4 times a week. My wife's in the gym 3 to 4 times a week. We're all trying to make our bodies right by visiting Restore. They've got everything you need, from compressions to cryotherapy, even specialty services such as IV drip therapy, and just a ton of great stuff that you and your family and your friends can take advantage of. I know the holidays are kind of behind us, but you guys can go and get gift cards and all of that great stuff. They got a ton of holiday offers still right now, so go check them out. Get a family member, a friend, even yourself, the service that you need to restore your body. Tell them I sent you from the Detroit Lions podcast. so they can take care of you and you can get back to doing more of what you love. Don't wait around. Go check out Restore Hyper Wellness now. You can also check them out at restore.com. So, yeah, my play of the week, very simple. You're going to take a different defensive player. I'm going to take one that just has kind of been on a roll and has started to fill the void at the safety position that we needed. I mean, Brian Branch, very good rookie season, not necessarily playing the same way he did earlier in the year. I think there's some hesitation with his game due to the injuries that he's probably sustained during his rookie year, especially with his lower body. We know about Gardner Johnson. He's been out. Tracy Walker's probably done here. Let's just call it what it is. I mean, they just waived Isaiah Buggs during the season. They're giving Tracy Walker the benefit of the doubt, but my assumption is either he's going to have to renegotiate or he's going to be gone. But they've needed somebody to step up. Kirby Joseph can only do so much as the single high safety trying to guard the post and a deep fade going his way. He's trying the best he can. But Melifonwu does a great job early in the game, gets a pick against Dak. And I think it throws some hesitation to Dak early in this game because we've talked about rhythm with Goff. Goff has to get in rhythm. A few weeks ago against the Bears, wasn't in rhythm. Dak played very well. The Cowboys played very well. But like I mentioned earlier, without CeeDee Lamb, I don't know if they would have put 20 points up on the Lions. And I think what prevented it was this early interception. It kind of caused some hesitation for Dak. And Melifonwu just makes a terrific read who the ball was going to CeeDee Lamb. He jumps the route and he picks it off and he gives the ball back early in the game to Detroit. And sure, 5 plays later, Detroit punts the football. But it was one of those where it's like, you got to stop early in the game. And we talked about that a few weeks ago. If Detroit can get some early stops and it allows their offense to get in some rhythm later in the game, because if the offense is expected to come in and just ball out right away, that's wrong. Like they shouldn't, they might struggle too from time to time.
It's tough. Yeah.
It's tough. So this forced Dak to kind of, I got to watch for this guy. And if Melifonwu was on the same side as Lamb, I might hold it for a second or two longer. And it leads us into, our next player, which you're going to talk about. So yeah, I'm going to go play of the week, Melifonwu's pick.
So I'm going to talk about, we could have, just like all these other games, there's a bunch of places you could go, but there's one of Aiden Hutchinson's sacks in the game comes at like the 2:38 mark of the fourth quarter. Huge play. The Lions desperately need the ball back. And it's, we have been looking for him to get into a one-on-one scenario with a tackle that he should be able to win against. And up against Terrence Steele in this matchup, one-on-one, he can. So, with all these elite pass rushers, everything they do is sort of developed off of everything looks the same. It's supposed to look the same. Mm-hmm. So the first couple steps should be the same, no matter whether you're going outside or inside or any of that stuff. And it keeps the tackle guessing. So Steele oversets because it's Hutchinson and he's worried about getting beat, around the corner. And Hutchinson gets him to overset a touch and he pulls off that spin move that he's been doing all year back inside. And it's just like, it just looks so easy and so effortless the way he makes that look. And it was one of the things I think that, watching his game in college and seeing it develop, and he had the two-hand, like the scissor swipe kind of thing, the two-hand swipe that he always used to do back inside, or the one-hand swipe that he does. He's really good at that. Yep. But the spin move is different because it takes longer to set up, but I think it's a little more dangerous. It's not something that you want to pull off all the time, right? Because guards are going to start, they're going to see it. And at some point in time, a guard's going to put the crown of his helmet under Hutchinson's face mask and he'll light him up. Mm-hmm. But, in this particular situation, he's one-on-one and he pulls off the spin move, goes back inside, and he's right there for the, a super easy looking sack. And it's just a huge play. And it leads to a punt. Lions get the ball back and drive down the field and score. But it's great because it's nice to see him produce one-on-one in scenarios where he should win. And this one looked super easy. I mean, it just looks like, I don't know how you defend that. Like, good luck. And this is exactly why they're giving 2 blockers to Hutchinson, because he's so hard he's hard to he's hard to block,
Right.
So in that scenario, it's a one-on-one win. It's fun to look at, and it was a huge moment in the game. So that's play of the week for me.
I love it. I think it's a great summary of him as a player. I think it's a great summary of what he did in that game and what he's been going through for much of the season. He's up to 9.5 sacks this year. Just a stud. I mean, he's an absolute stud. And the fact that teams legitimately have to give him 2 to 3 blockers just goes to show how different he is. Now they have to find a difference maker opposite of him. We'll get to that in the coming weeks. But first, we got to preview the last game briefly. I don't think we need to go into crazy detail like you said. I mean, we just played this team 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
We beat them for the division. And I don't know what we're going to see from our team as far as who's playing and who's not. I would assume we're playing our starters just because that's the way Dan Campbell is. And conveniently, the NFL schedule came out and we have the 1:00 game while all the other teams waiting in the wings for the 2 seed or the playoffs, like the Rams and the Packers and the Cowboys and all that. They're playing at 4 p.m. So conveniently, we either are damned if we do, damned if we don't, if we play our starters or not.
Yeah.
But, the big thing with this game is just, what are the Vikings doing at quarterback? Have they announced it yet? Is it going to be Jaron Hall? Is it going to be Nick Mullins? Somebody else? I mean, this team is
Maybe
lost.
they go back to Dobbs for a week. You never know.
Right. So we just don't know. But like last week, they were banged up. Jordan Addison was limited. Byron Murphy was out. Jalen Naylor, Jaquelin Roy, Brian O'Neill, Ivan Pace. This team is banged up.
Hawkinson.
Yeah, Hawkinson's done for the year.
Yeah.
So I think it's one of those where, personally, I think the Lions are going to come in. They're going to handle business. I think the league maybe lit a fire under this team, which might not be a bad thing. I mean, I genuinely think the Lions might start beating the shit out of people, like literally off the bus.
So that's the one hope is that, out of all this crap is, they get a big chip on their shoulder. And I mean, it's one of the things with football specifically or sports is there's nothing like trying to prove. There's nothing like having to prove to somebody who tells you you're either not good enough or you can't do it. So that kind of drive is something that I think coaches love to try to recreate. But in this scenario, you don't have to create anything. It's there for you, right? So it's just a matter of what Campbell wants to do with it. And I think, when he goes to the podium on Monday, I think it was Monday, and he talks about controlled fury, it's like, that's perfect. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like in the moments when we're allowed to let this out, we're gonna, and it's gonna be great. It's just, I think that we could be looking at, we want the offense to come out of this week feeling good. So you want Goff to get, let's say he plays a quarter or a quarter and a half, and they score a couple times, and he's feeling good. Like, all right, we're in rhythm, where everything's good. Get out of there, right? And then, so we just don't know who's going to play or how much. I wouldn't expect Gibbs or Montgomery to get a lot of touches in this one. I don't think Jameson Williams is going to play.
I don't think Laporta's going to play.
Yeah, it's just, and if they do, I don't know how much, but so that makes it tough to kind of look at the preview. But we talked about this a couple of weeks ago, that this is not a terrible scenario to be in week 18 with really nothing to play. I know you could be the 2 seed, but that's going to require Dallas losing and Philly losing.
Yeah.
I don't see that happening. So I think the Lions are your 3 seed. It's to be determined as to who they're going to play, but we just, it's not a go through the motions kind of a game. I think more of what it is a get right kind of a game, and then get everybody out and just kind of enjoy almost, the second half of just, seeing guys who don't normally get a lot of minutes, seeing those guys get minutes and celebrating that and just kind of feeling that. So it's going to be a really cool game to be a part. I don't remember the last time the Lions were in a playoff position with nothing to play for and had a regular season game where they could just kind of ham it up a little bit. So
right.
It'll be fun. It's going to be an interesting game to watch for sure.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I mean, I don't think the Vikings are getting in regardless of what happens. And I think they're hanging on by a thread. They're 7-9. Can they get in at 8-9 as a wild card? They're still in the hunt, but I think they're pretty much out of it. So like they could do the same thing. They could play a bunch of undrafted guys, a bunch of 5th and 6th round picks, see what is what and who's playing where. I mean, they're signing guys off the practice squad now. I just checked. So I think Detroit's going to do the same thing. Probably a heavy dosage of Broderick Martin, heavy dosage of Colby Sorsdale, maybe a little Antoine Green, Stephen Gilmore, some players that we've talked about throughout the season. Like, why aren't we seeing them? We might see them here, and that gives them a little bit of a chance to see what it's all about. And do we see Hendon Hooker? I think that's the big question. Does he play at all? I mean,
it's a fascinating question. I don't know that he will. I would love to see it.
I would too.
In that, it's a really. I'm glad you brought it up because it wasn't. I wanted to talk about it. Forgot about it. Teddy needs reps. Like what happens? What happens if you roll into the playoffs and for some crazy reason Goff gets hurt? Yep. And Teddy hasn't taken a snap in months. It's like, no, Bridgewater needs some reps too. So it's something that they should be thinking about, preparing. Hey, we're going to give him a full half just to sort of, feel what it's like again. But I'd love to see Hendon Hooker. I just don't know that that's in the cards for Sunday. But I would love to see it. It'd be really, that'd be fun.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I'm really interested to see what he looks like in a Lions uniform.
No, I'm with you. I think it's going to be a lot of number 2s and number 3s on the depth chart. And again, maybe we'll see a little Hendon Hooker in there. Craig Reynolds, Donovan Peoples-Jones. These guys are going to get a heavy usage this weekend. And look, the worst case scenario is that the Lions are an 11-win football team. They're the 3 seed. They have a home playoff game. They won the NFC North. That's the worst case scenario. Best case, they become the 2 seed somehow with a little bit of luck, or they're just a 12-win football team that won the North and still has a home playoff game. Like the goals that we've talked about, the things that we've wanted to see, we saw this year. And it's been a great year. We've had a blast covering this team, doing this show. And it's not over. The ride's not over. We're just getting started, hopefully. Yeah. I mean, I hope we can do this for a couple more weeks. I'd love to talk about an NFC championship game between the 49ers. It'd be fun.
Yes, it would.
But we'll see. I mean, we'll see how it goes. I'm excited for the weekend. I'm excited for to kind of get the final slate of games and see what it is. But if you guys want to talk more about this with us, you guys can find us on Twitter or X at Russ NFL Draft, at Bischoff_Scott. You can see it on the ticker below. And of course, you can rate, review, and subscribe to Detroit Lions Podcast on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and all other podcast platforms as I knock my desk over. But look, it's been great, despite the loss in the salty way that it was against Brad Allen and the Dallas Cowboys. But it is what it is. Do you got anything else?
Where's the way you put that? Yeah, it feels like that way at times. I'm sure there's every city in the NFL feels this way at times, but it just,
it's always Detroit.
It's frustrating that these things have happened. But, like we talked about, if it lights a fire that maybe wasn't there before, in the end, it's a good thing.
Yep.
That's how I'm looking at it.
Nope. I'm with you. We'll see what happens. Yep. But great show. Always appreciate everybody reaching out to us. Let us know in the comments how you feel about Brad Allen and the Dallas Cowboys. We know how we feel. We assume we know how you feel. Yes. and let us know what you think about potentially playing the Rams in the first round of the playoffs. A little terrifying, but we'll get into that next week right here on Bish and Brown on the Detroit Lions podcast. Until then, take care.